Hello and welcome everyone to another StarCraft 2 cast by Glitch. Today, I'm going to be casting a bit of a selfish game. And I'll explain what I mean by that right after I introduce the players. Spawning in the top right position of Whirlwind LE as the red Zerg, we have Blade. His opponent today, spawning in the bottom left position as the blue Protoss player, we have some Korean guy who's in a clan called ReX. So that's just what I'm going to be referring to this guy as this entire game long. Now, Blade is a person that I have cast before. I casted some of his games last week. He's a Zerg player who plays on the Korean ladder. And he posted a big replay pack on Reddit a couple weeks ago, so I decided to cast some of his games. And if you've been watching my stream at all lately, then you've seen that I've been having a lot of trouble with Protoss lately. So I've been doing a lot of studying Zerg players in the ZVP matchup. So that's why I started to watch some of these games of Blades, and so that's why I chose to cast this game today, is because this game actually ends up being a very good game here, and it's kind of something that kind of a standard game that we've been kind of seeing in the ZVP matchup recently in Heart of the Swarm. So, in this position, we can see that ReX has started to spawn around the map. This is a 4-player map, so you only have a 1 out of 3 chance of spotting them in the first position that you scout. So it looks like he's going to be getting an okay scout here, but notice that Blade is doing something unusual. Blade has no spawning pool at all. No spawning pool at all in the base, and he's going for this 15 hatchery. This is a very risky move here by Blade. This is actually a very risky move. And as you can see, he's bringing down this drone. Why? Because he went for this hatch first, and he's going to be following this up with the late pool. He's actually going to be going up to 16 pool. You can see he's pulling 2 SCVs down here right now. Two probes, or drones rather, to come watch this probe, because he is in crazy amounts of danger right now of getting cannon rushed. Luckily, ReX has opted to go for a Nexus first. He's gone pylon into Nexus, into another pylon, into getting this forge. So this is going to be really late to be getting up any cannons here. But Blade does not know that yet. Blade has no vision on his opponent yet, so he has no idea what his opponent is doing, so he has to be extra aggressive about this probe here in his base. So as you can see, he's pulling drones down here to keep them very active and make sure that there are no pylons going down. Notice he did pull 3 earlier. 3 is how many you need to be able to DPS down a building pylon, so that's why he was keeping 3 drones down here when he saw that probe scouting his base. Now this hatch is coming up now. The spawning pool is completed as well, so we're going to be seeing some lings coming out on the way. He's going to need to chase this probe away. This is absolutely necessary at this point in the game, that you're going to want to be able to chase away this probe. Now, on the other side of the map, we can see ReX so far doesn't have too much to be worried about right now. He's seen the timing of the pool, he's seen that his opponent's going for this hatchery, and he's seen lots of drones. So he knows that his opponent's not going for any kind of big attack. So as you can see, he's just going immediately, actually he had opted to go gateway first. This is actually a very interesting move here by ReX, is that he didn't opt to go for that forge first. He's opting instead to go for this gateway first. Why? Because this means that he's going to get the earlier cybernetics core, which means he's going to get the earlier warp gate, so he's going to have a lot more options to be aggressive. Before, players would get these forges up very fast so they can get up cannons very fast and be very defensive. But these days, with the mothership, it's quite easy to be very defensive back on your 2 bases. So that mothership core can photon overcharge a Nexus, and so it's very easy to be nice and defensive here as a Protoss player. So having this gateway come down first is not super uncommon these days for a lot of players. Now, the warp gate research is now coming down here, and it looks like Blade is just going to be poking up here, and he's going to be seeing all the buildings from his opponent. Very standard here. And he does have an Overlord here in position, with a second Overlord moving around to the back side of the base so that he can do a later scout into the base. In the meantime, he's starting to take a third, being active with a couple of Zerglings to be sure that there are no pylons going down at all in the base. Gases, there was a gas that was taken earlier, but it looks like after scouting in here, he's actually going to be seeing what's going down in the tech for ReX. So now, if we look at this vision of Blade, yeah, we can see that he actually did spot this Stargate that is coming down here for ReX. So looks like ReX is going to be going into a Stargate opening here with Phoenixes coming out here, and looks like Blade is actually going to be coming down here to check on what unit is coming out of that Stargate. As you can see, he's moving in here, trying to stay a little bit north of this cannon here, doesn't want to take too much damage, but there you go. Now you can see that it is actually going to be a Phoenix coming out, and there we go. Now that the Phoenix is out, he's going to be chasing down that Overlord, so he knows exactly what's coming down here from his opponent. Knows that his opponent's doing a Phoenix opening, so he's throwing down a lot of Spore Crawlers accordingly. We do now see a Roach Warren going down here at the 7-minute mark as well, and if we check out the Harvester count right now, we can see that Blade is about even with his opponent. This is a result of taking a later fast third, right, or a later third than it would have been in Wings of Liberty, because in Wings of Liberty, players would forge fast expand, so that this Warp Gate research would be very, very slow. It would take a long time for this Warp Gate research to come out, and that meant that you had more time to build bases, build drones and things, but these days we're seeing a lot more early aggression from Protoss players with that Mothership core, so a lot of players are delaying this third base. Now, Spore Crawler's coming up everywhere because he does see that his opponent is committing to more than just the one Phoenix. So we do see a couple going down at every base. Each base does currently have 2. +1 attack upgrades being, +1 missile attacks rather, coming down for Blade, as well as lots of Queens for spreading that creep. Lair Tech now on the way as well. Now, in the base of ReX, we see that he's following this up with gateways. 3 gateways here, bringing this up to a total of 4 gateways that are all going to be ready to turn into Warp Gate. There we go, the Warp Gate research is done, and once these are done, he's going to be able to get those up. He might start to put some pressure on his opponent as well. Robotics facility is also down, and we also see the robotics bay coming down as well for ReX. So he's going to be going into that Colossus tech while he keeps his opponent pinned back on his bases with these Phoenixes. Now notice, Blade is holding this middle watchtower, so this is very good for Blade. I'm surprised that ReX hasn't actually gone to that watchtower and killed off that Zergling to try to deny some of the vision of Blade. And looks like in the meantime he's going to just try to poke in here and deal some damage. These Phoenixes picking off quite a few drones here actually as they make their way down to that third base. And he picks one off of the gas too. This is actually a move that's very, very smart. A lot of players will not notice. Newer players won't realize that they don't have a full mining gas geyser. So a lot of times if you can pick off 1 or 2 guys from the extractor, it'll take them a while to realize and put guys back on that gas geyser. Now Sumling's going to be poking in here to try to see the tech of his opponent. He did just go in here and see, I believe he saw pylons going down. No, he at least saw the units clearing this area out, so he knows that his opponent's going to be going for a third base here, so it would be smart for Blade to start to take a 4th base of his own, and I think we'll most likely be seeing that coming down here pretty soon. Mothership core is now out, and as well as the first Colossi, it's about to come out here as well. We do have the extended thermal lance research going down as well, so he's going to be able to start getting some pretty strong Colossi out in the field, and we see him now adding on more gateways and the Twilight Council. Whereas in the base of Blade right now, we're seeing very, very normal things. He's gone up to his Lair Tech, but we haven't seen any Lair Tech units quite yet, except for Hydralisks. This is very, very standard opening for Zerg these days. A lot of Zerg players are going into this Hydraling opening, so they open with fast Hydraling, getting the Roach Warren just in case there's any kind of early Zealot aggression. But other than that, going for Hydralisks and Zerglings early on, because Hydralisks are very, very good against gateway units. Despite being glass cannons, they have long range once they have this upgrade. Where's the Hydralisk Den? Somewhere around here. There's the Hydralisk Den. But once they have that upgrade for grooved spines, then they can actually shoot over force fields and still hit units. So force fields don't zone out Hydralisks quite as well as they do other units like Roaches and Zerglings. Now, these Hydralisk counts are starting to get pretty high on the field right now. We currently have 11 Hydralisks out on the field, 70 workers here for Blade, to the 65 of ReX. But now keep in mind, ReX is on 3 bases here, so Blade needs to get his other base going. And there we go. We do see that base now coming down here for Blade. And in the meantime, ReX just continuing to get up as many Colossus as he can right now. Now we do see the Infestation Pit now coming down here for Blade. No Spire has come down yet, so it looks like either Infestors or Locusts, Swarm Hosts rather, are going to be the tech of choice here for Blade. And this is a very, very standard build from Zerg players these days, and that is to go Ling, Hydra in the early game. Like I said, only getting Roaches if you feel it's absolutely necessary. Holy cow, Blade actually has a ton of extra larvae here. I wonder if he just doesn't have this hotkey. This hotkey or what, but there we go. Now we see a lot of drones coming down out of that base. It's possible that he was saving up larva just in case his opponent decides to get aggressive, so he can make that decision later on, but tend to think that it was maybe a little bit more of a mistake, although he did have a lot of larvae at every single base. Hive Tech now on the way, Enduring Locust upgrade now on the way, and we do see some swarm hosts now coming out here for Blade as well. So like I was saying before, this is a very, very standard opening, or not standard opening, but standard play from a lot of Zerg players these days to open Ling Hydra into swarm hosts, and then with those swarm hosts, you can start to be aggressive, or you can use them to be defensive as you establish more bases. And go up to Hive Tech. Most likely we're going to see Vipers coming out of this Hive Tech. That is the common follow-up for this build. So once you build into Hydra swarm hosts, then those hold off a lot of the mid-game pushes, and then once the Colossi count starts to get very high from an opponent, you can start to get up the Vipers, which will allow you to take those Colossi, pull them away from their army, and take them down a lot faster. Then, of course, going into the super late game, Ultralisks are generally the tech of choice for Zerg players going into the late game. Again, because they can tank damage for the Hydralisks and the Swarm Hosts. Now we do see the double robotics facility out, chrono boosting continuing to go down on those Colossi, and a lot of gateways being added on here for ReX. And now, interestingly enough, Blade is going to be moving out here. Actually, both players moving out towards each other, so they're actually going to be about to meet in the middle. He needs to be really, really careful with these swarm hosts. Going to be pulling those right on back home because he now knows that his opponent's coming out with a big army. We see 3 Vipers currently on the way here for Blade, but the food count is currently favoring ReX by quite a bit, 186 supply to the 176 of Blade. So he needs to try to utilize this choke as well as he possibly can to hold off this attack, because there are 4 Colossi in here as well as Templar, and these Templar do have Storm as well. These Swarm Hosts are getting burrowed, the Locusts are coming out, nice force fields going down here. This is going to mean that those Locusts are not going to be quite in range of these Colossi, and these Colossi are going to be able to take down all of those units. Psystorm's going down on these Swarm Hosts, but not dealing quite the damage he needs to do, and Blade being very, very careful here. We do see that the Vipers are now out, and they're trying to suck as much energy as they can out of these evolution chambers so they can start to pull those Colossi back, and Blade just needs to hold here. He needs to hold this position. There we go. 1 Colossi gets pulled, and Blade takes it down. And now, with that, ReX knows that the Vipers are out and knows that he's in a dangerous position right now, and knows that if these Colossi all go down to Viper pulls, that he's going to be in a really, really dangerous spot. So he's just pulling on home. But oh my goodness, during this whole engagement in this northern position at that 4th base, there was a huge warp in of Zealots, as we can see from this pylon here in this upper base, and that was able to take out this 4th as well as a lot of drones there. If we check out the workers killed, 8 workers killed, so not great for ReX, but taking down a base is definitely a big win. And notice behind this, during that attack, ReX was starting to take a 4th base of his own, so absolutely fantastic play here by ReX, because now he's established 4 bases to his opponent's 3 bases, and his opponent is going to take a little bit, Blade that is going to take a little bit longer to get this base up. And so now the pressure is on to Blade, right? The pressure is now onto him to try to get some damage done. These Vipers are out on the field, and looks like ReX is continuing not to get up too many units. He's got a lot of gateways going down, and holy cow, he's adding on a ton more right now. So he's going to be going up to 16 gateways here. But notice he's not adding on a lot of gateway units. He doesn't want to get carried away with adding on too many gateway units unless he absolutely has to. That's because he'd rather save that food supply for the big units like Templar and Colossi. He needs to save up for those high damage dealing units. Now these Vipers are coming out on the field. There are a couple of observers here to scout for these swarm hosts, and these Phoenix is trying to be aggressive as possible, trying to take down those swarm hosts, or the Vipers rather, as quick as they can. But oh, nice storms going down all over this army here as ReX is now starting to push in here, and Blade needs to be really, really careful. These swarm hosts are really slow off creep. The blink forward from the Stalkers starting to pick off some of those, and now it looks like Blade is actually just going to give up some of his army. He's going to trade all of his Hydralisks and Roaches in order to save his swarm hosts and Vipers. But now ReX is at a nice little advantage here. He's just gained some momentum as he's going to start to push Blade back to his base. Once again, no damage was done here by Blade, so he still has this 4th up and mining. And so this pressure doesn't really have to do too much damage right now. He's just trying to keep his opponent back and keep his opponent from dealing damage to his own base. Now we can see that Blade is going to be taking another 5th base here as well. And in the meantime, he's trying to get up more and more units because of the threat of pressure. Managed to get up a lot of Zerglings, and we see Ultralisks now coming down here as well for Blade. So he's finally getting into this ultimate composition that he needs. And we do now see a Spire coming down here for Blade as well, as lots of upgrades, +3 missile attacks, as well as Carapace, +3 Carapace just now being started here for Blade. Now Blade is currently sitting at max, 100 98 food to the 159 of ReX. But once again, this could be maxed here by ReX. Notice ReX has a huge bank right now. 6k, 1.5k. He's got a huge bank. If he wanted, he could be maxed. Right now, he's intentionally not maxing because he's trying to save that food for those high-tech units. Now, Blade is trying to defend these bases here. He's got a lot of swarm hosts here, but beautiful storms going down. Nice grab there of those Colossi there. 2 Colossi, 3 Colossi, 4 Colossi going down really, really quickly, taking them all down, and that is going to push this entire army back. Holy cow, how many times can these Vipers actually abduct? Abduct costs 75 energy, and they can have up to a total of 200 energy, so that means that at full energy, these Vipers can each pull 2 times and still have some energy left over. That's actually really, really crazy. That's a lot of pulls from those Vipers. But oh, we have a Warp Prism play here going down as there are a ton of Zealots now being warped into the main. 16 Zealots in total being warped into the main. All the units of Blade being forced to pull back to have to deal with this. And I'm actually curious to see, is he going to be taking another base behind this? No, we don't see any bases coming down behind this, but looks like not a whole lot of damage was done here. Blade does manage to pull back in time, and ooh, will he get that Warp Prism? That Warp Prism gets down to really, really low health, but now that Warp Prism's going to be pulling back. There's a couple of Zealots loaded up into here, and he's going to be able to unload them here at this 5th base of Blade and start to deal some more damage. In the meantime, more Zealots being warped in here to kind of come in here and deal some damage. Now, in terms of tech for our opponent, we now see another robotics facility being added on, so it looks like he's actually just going to continue to go into Colossi, and that's going to continue to be his tech choice. And I don't know how smart of a choice that is there from ReX, because again, these Vipers have been up here and they've been dealing a lot of damage, and they deal a lot of damage indirectly by being able to pull those Colossi. And they mitigate a lot of the damage from Rex's Colossi army. So I don't know if Colossi is the best choice here, but it's all just going to come down to positioning and whether he can get off some good pulls here. Now these Zealots are doing quite a bit of damage here, but we do see that these roaches are going to be able to come in here and pick those off. Now, looks like Blade is looking to get aggressive here as he's moving his army down into a position where he can start to get aggressive. Notice that a Dark Shrine is coming down for his opponent as well, but now that these swarm hosts are coming in here, they're going to start to place some pressure on his opponent. Notice Rex is going to be taking a 5th base behind this, and here we go. The army's moving forward here, but oh, beautiful feedbacks going down on all of those Vipers as those Vipers are taken down instantly, and now I think this is going to have to force Blade to retreat here. Blade cannot engage this army here without all those armies. Oh no, some of his Ultralists being pulled forward there by the Locust. And yes, this is going to mean that Blade is going to have to go into a full retreat. Those Vipers are absolutely necessary for this composition to work. Without them, these Colossi can just do so much damage to those Locusts, take them down so quickly, and these Blinkstalkers deal a lot of damage to these Ultralisks. They're not the best thing in the world, but with the Colossus also dealing damage behind him, this is just a very, very high damage army. Now it looks like Rex is going to start to get aggressive here. Both of these players pretty much near max. Once again, Rex could be maxed if he wants to, but he's, again, saving up tech for higher... he's saving up tech or saving up supply rather for those higher tech units. So once again, looks like he's going to be able to come in here and pick off this 4th base, and I think there's nothing he can do here. Blade is actually going to lose this 5th base as well. There's nothing he can do to currently stop this. He's sending some of his roaches and hydras down here to this base to try to stop it, but there's so many cannons here that I think he's going to be able to pick this off. In the meantime, this 5th base is going to go down here, and this is going to mean that that Blade is just down to 4 mining bases right now, and yeah, this push isn't going to be able to break through this, and yeah, with that mothership core, he's actually just going to be able to recall all the way back down to the southern base to defend. Beautiful move here by Rex. So Rex is in an absolutely fantastic position at this point, and this is a really scary position for Blade to be in. Notice Blade just hasn't been able to do any damage to his opponent all game long. He's had to be defensive, and now he's going up against a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 base Protoss, and he's only got 4 bases. He's a base down. This is not a position you want to be in for Zerg. But notice that behind this, using that Spire tech, he's gone up to Greater Spire, he's gotten his 3 Vipers back up, and he's now teched up to Broodlords. 7 Broodlords currently out on the field right now, and it looks like Rex is looking to get aggressive, because once again, his bank is huge. He's got this huge bank, 6k, 2.5k. Blade also has a pretty huge bank, 4k to 2.5k. 4k, 2.5k minerals and gas, that is. So both of these players can afford to remax, but Rex can afford to do it so much more. And oh, nice pulls going down there as these Vipers are going to be pulling back those Colossi, so these Broodlords can be dealing a lot of damage, and there's not a whole lot of damage going down on these Broodlords nor these Swarm Hosts, so he's losing some Ultralisks here, but other than that, all Blade is trading right now is units that he gets for free. Broodlords, and Swarm Host Locust. There's just nothing really here to stop all that, and with all this damage going down, it looks like ReX is going to be forced to pull back, and that was actually a huge loss of ReX's army there. This was an extremely cost-efficient fight here for Blade. Fantastic positioning here by Blade. Allows him to take down that army, and now ReX is going to have to pull back here, and as you can see, now he's going to be throwing down Stargates. This is going to be bringing him up to a total of 3 Stargates, and we do see Void Rays now starting to come up as well, and in the meantime, 1 Dark Templar was warped in here to start to go down to this base. But once again, Blade has been stripped of his bases. He's now down to just 1 mining base. He's reestablishing this one, and it looks like this base is going to go down here because Blade is not reacting to it. He's got a very, very slow army here, so he's moving down. This is a very, very immobile army. Swarm hosts, they have to burrow and unburrow to get into position to fight, and the Brood Lords are just very, very slow in general, so they are not going to be a super mobile army. So he's now ReX, that is now taking advantage of this lack of mobility by warping in Dark Templars all over the place. The 5th base goes down, the 4th base goes down once again, but now Blade is starting to move into this base right now because his opponent doesn't have much of an army. There's just not a whole lot out here for ReX, and once again, he's got a huge bank. He could be spending this bank, he could be starting to build some units, but he's trying to save up because he doesn't want to make the mistake that a lot of newer Protoss players make, and that is that a lot of newer Protoss players will be like, oh my god, my army's so small, I need to build units, and they'll just max on gateway units, get up tons of Stalkers and Zealots, and Stalkers and Zealots are not the thing you want to be using against this kind of composition. This is a super, super high-tech composition here from Blade. Swarm Hosts and Brood Lords, and just gateway units is not going to cut it. He needs high-tech units. He needs units like the Colossi. He needs units like the Archons, he needs units like the Void Rays to deal lots of damage to really be able to deal with this damage, this kind of army. And I'm actually surprised that he's not getting out a Mothership Core. A Mothership Core and then a Mothership is actually what would be really, really useful for this army right now. But Protoss players, we haven't been seeing this a lot from Protoss players. We haven't seen a whole lot of motherships being added into the mix. It looks like they prefer that mothership core for the time being. But yeah, it looks like, once again, base is trying to go down for Blade, but Dark Templars continuing to just deny these bases. So Blade really just trying to do damage here as he's coming in here doing a lot of damage to this base, and he's now taken out 2 bases, and so I don't know what ReX is supposed to do in this position but sit back and just continue to max. He's still in a fantastic position. Like, look at the money right now. The money right now for ReX is so much higher. He's got this huge bank saved up. He can remax this army a few times if he wants to, but oh, nice storms going down here for ReX as he continues to storm on top of a lot of those swarm hosts. A lot of these swarm hosts taking a lot of damage, but none of them going down here. Those storms actually not that effective against these swarm hosts, but it looks like this engagement is going to go down as all the Colossi are now being pulled back to these swarm hosts when those swarm hosts release their next stream. No, the swarm hosts are actually going to be pulling back. These Void Rays are dealing so much damage right now because this army from Blade has nothing that can shoot up. Everything in this composition shoots down or can hit things on the ground only. Ultralisks, Broodlords, Swarm Hosts, everything can only hit ground units, so these Void Rays are actually what's saving ReX in this fight. The Colossi go down, but ReX is winning the air fight right now, and now he's starting to push back into his opponent here, and oh, these Swarm Hosts not being burrowed in the best of position here, losing a lot of Swarm Hosts, a lot of them being pulled down here by Locust, and oh, this is such a huge win here for ReX as he manages to take out a whole lot of the units of his opponent. And as you can see, in this 4th base right now for Blade, he's managed to get it mining, but this is his only mining base. His 3rd base has nothing mining. Natural has nothing mining, and so now he's struggling to get up as many units as he can. Oh, but he doesn't want to fight in this choke. He wants to pull back. Oh, these Swarm Hosts going to be burrowing, trying to get down. Hydralisks are now out on the field here to start to deal with these. The ground army has been wiped out here by the Locusts and by the Ultralisks, and it's going to mean that these Hydralisks are finally going to be able to do some damage to those Void Rays, and those Void Rays now just going to be pulling back home, bringing the food supply of ReX down to just 78 supply. He's got tons of minerals, but he's got no gas right now to be able to do anything with it, so it looks like he's just going to be forced to warp in a lot of Zealots. But Zealots have a problem in that they do very, very bad against Swarm Hosts. Locusts just deal damage so quickly to Zealots. As you can see here, these Zealots are going to come down here and just watch as these Zealots just evaporate to these Locusts. You can see, look at that. Look at how fast they take damage to these Locusts. And this isn't even that many Locusts, but these Locusts just deal damage so quickly that he's able to deal with these Zealots quite easily. Now the Hydralisks coming in from the back. These Hydralisks need to stay alive. They need to be connecting with these Void Rays. A nice pulling going down there by those Vipers as 3 Void Rays go down instantly, and that's a huge win here for Blade. There's just not a whole lot here for ReX to do because he's got to he's got to get these Void Rays to deal damage, but he doesn't have army to really be able to defend, right? He needs to buy time for these Void Rays to deal damage. These Void Rays need to sit back and just be able to deal their damage because they don't have a whole lot of shields and armor. They're not very tanky units. So he needs a strong army that's going to be able to hold while these Void Rays deal the damage. But these Locusts deal damage so fast to these Gateway units that he's just not getting the time he needs to really do the damage with those Void Rays. So as you can see, he's trying to add some High Templar into this composition to really be able to get some Storms down, to try to deal the extra damage, but he's having trouble connecting with the army, and that's the big problem that ReX is having right now. Both these players on really, really low econ situations here, as Blade has finally managed to get up this base. So he's now mining on 2 bases. Notice he's not mining any gas right now. He's completely broke right now, so he's trying to rely on high amounts of mineral-heavy units like Hydralisks to be able to deal the damage, and these units that just keep spawning infinitely, right? These Swarm Hosts are very, very cost-efficient, and so if he can keep getting cost-efficient trades with these Hydralisks, he's gonna, or with these Swarm Hosts, he's gonna start to come out on top over time. But ReX, I'm surprised. He hasn't been reestablishing any bases here, and he just hasn't been expanding aggressively enough behind all of this, and he's in a little bit of a scary position. He's finally exhausted all of his bank. Both these players completely poor on money right now, and Blade is up in supply, 150 supply to 125 of ReX, but Blade's effective supply is much, much higher at this point in time, right? Because the strong units here, the most important units in this composition are the Void Rays and the High Templar. But the army of Blade right now, he's got a lot of very, very powerful units. He's got a lot of Hydralisks, which have very, very high DPS. He's got Swarm Hosts, which keep spawning these infinite Locusts that deal a whole lot of damage. So he's got a very, very strong, effective army. And ReX, these Gateway units just die so fast to the Locust. Nice Storm going down there on those Locusts, allowing him to pick those off quite nicely, but this is not something that you want to do over a whole lot of time. These High Templar just don't deal, I mean, they don't generate energy as fast as Swarm Hosts generate Locusts. And it looks like ReX is getting a little bit desperate here. He's starting to try to go into Colossi. And I think what he really needs at this point is he really needs the Mothership. I really, really think that he needs the Mothership. If he can get these units cloaked and start to consistently take out Overseers, if he can consistently start to get in there and get some nice, God, I can't remember what the ability is called anymore. The big black hole ability. Holy God, why can I not remember the name of that ability? It's not Time Warp. God, you guys, it's been so long since Wings of Liberty. Oh, God. It's going to come to me. It's going to come to me. I promise. I promise it'll come to me. In the meantime, there's a big engagement going down here as ReX is just trying to get up as much supply as he can. Blinkstalker's blinking forward right now. Now using these Colossi to clear out some of these Locusts here. But every time these waves of Locusts come down, he's picking off some units there. Nice Storm going down there on those Hydralisks. And now it looks like ReX is finally going to start to make a little bit of headway here, but he needs to move quickly because he only has the time in between Swarm Host, these Locust pops before he has to pull back. And yeah, as you can see, he's just losing so much of his army right now. All of that army going down right now, and Blade starting to push forward with all these Hydralisks. All the Colossi going down. The Void Rays have all gone down as well. And now Blade, with the food supply lead, 156 supply to the 77 of ReX, is just going to continue to press in here with these Locusts now taking a 6th base as well. And ReX just hasn't been able to get up any more bases at all, so he's just had no other chances to expand. And I really, really think he's lacking the Mothership. He really needs the Mothership in this position, but he just doesn't have it, and now he's broke. He's got no money to really be able to get him out, so now Blade is going to just slowly start to take the lead with this really, really cost-efficient army. This is just overall brilliant play here from Blade, constantly using these Swarm Hosts. A lot of these Swarm Hosts are Swarm Hosts that have been alive since the very, very beginning of the game. So with his very, very good unit control, he's been able to come back into this game despite being behind for quite a long time. Now the entire army of ReX is getting into a big, bad position here as he tries to move in to try to deny this base here, but no, it looks like Blade just going to be coming up from the back, taking that entire army down. By moving into here, ReX is essentially sacrificing his entire army. He's saying, I'm not going to defend this base anymore. I'm going to just try to do some damage here and hope that you don't move your army and hope that you're intimidated enough that I'm going to be able to just pick this off and come back down. But Blade, of course, with that superior army, just comes in from the back with those Vipers, pulls the Colossi out of there, and is able to clean up the rest of that army, forcing the GG from ReX. Absolutely fantastic played game here by both of these players. But again, I think ReX just needed that Mothership. I really, really think he needed that Mothership. Anyway, fantastic game played by both players. I hope you guys enjoyed that game. If you did, hit that subscribe button down below, hit that like button for me, and be sure to tune in to a new series that I'm going to be having coming out today, actually. You will see it on my channel today. That is 2-minute tutorials. Be looking out for that. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Glitch out.